Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we thank you so much for honor our invitation. The minority in Parliament has called this press conference to address a matter that, while outrageous, sadly encapsulates the arrogance, hypocrisy, and gross insensitivity that have come to define the NDC government under President John Dramani Mahama. Over the weekend, Ghanaians were subjected to a disturbing video showing Mr. Sammy Gyamfi, the National Communication Officer of the ruling NDC, and the acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board, casually doling out bundles of the United States dollar to a known controversial figure, evangelist Patricia Odro, aka Nana Agradaa. This display of financial recklessness is not only a betrayal of public trust, but a slap in the face of millions of Ghanaians currently grappling with the devastating effect of the cedi, inflation, and the unbearable cost of living. It is even more shameful that this act was committed by someone who has in the past championed populist rhetoric about economic discipline, cedi loyalty, and anti-corruption. Let us be clear, this is not an isolated moment of indiscretion. It is symptomatic of a broader culture of abuse, impunity, and moral decay in the hearts of the NDC government. While businesses across the country are being suffocated by dollar shortages and an erratic exchange rate, a government official with access to state resources is seen splashing United States dollars. While the cedi has shown signs of recovery, appreciating from 14.15 cedi to approximately 13.14 per dollar as at May 9, 2025, this incident undermines efforts to stabilize our economy. The casual distribution of foreign currency by a high-ranking official sends a message of indifference to the struggle of ordinary Ghanaians. And what has the government has to say? Absolutely nothing. So far, there's a definite silence. There has been silence from the presidency, no reprimand from the Minister of Finance, and no action from the Office of the President or the National Security Secretariat. We are just recently learning and reading that the National Security has been asked to search the home of Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. If that is true, at least it's one step we will have to comment, but that it doesn't end there. It appears the action of Mr. Sammy Gyamfi has acquired blessing of the regime that has long abandoned people's interests for personal gains. As a minority, we owe it to the people of Ghana to bring to the fore these matters and this unfortunate development for that matter. Ladies and gentlemen, it is ridiculous to suggest that Mr. Sammy Gyamfi did no wrong with the opulence and naked betrayal of public mandate. Absolutely. For anyone to suggest that Sammy Gyamfi did nothing wrong is actually playing with the truth or doesn't understand the monetary and financial laws governing this country, especially when it has to do with the payment and receipt of same when dealing with currency that is not a legal tender for Ghana. The president recently launched the Code of Conduct for appointees, which requires them to place the national interest above personal interest, eschew opulence, and be accountable for the use of public funds, among others. Sammy Gyamfi has reaped this requirement of him by the president. God has a way of testing the integrity and faith of men. The integrity and faith of the president, John Dramani Mahama, on or in his own rules have been put to the test. It is a watershed moment for him to keep true to his words. Ladies and gentlemen, aside from the Code of Conduct for appointees, other financial and monetary laws have been challenged by the actions of Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. The Foreign Exchange Act 2006 Act 273 prescribes under Section 3, Clause 1 and 4, a person engaging in the business of dealing in foreign exchange without a license issued under this act. In other words, the Foreign Exchange Act has prescribed anyone doing businesses with the United States dollar or any foreign currency without approval or license so granted under the act. The business of dealing in foreign exchange includes the receipt or payment of foreign currency. The Bank of Ghana has constantly reminded us through various notices that pricing, advertising, receipting, or making payment for goods and services in foreign currency without authorization from the Bank of Ghana is illegal. The penalties for such violation includes a fine of up to 700 penalty units or a prison term of not more than 18 months or both. In other words, this is the prescribed penalty for anyone doing businesses with currency in Ghana or foreign currency without authorization from the Bank of Ghana. And from our checks, Mr. Gyamfi has not got authorization from the Bank of Ghana to do business with foreign currency. And it is clearly a violation of the Foreign Exchange Act, which has been passed to, this is a law governing the circulation and transaction with foreign currencies. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ghana cedi or the Ghanaian cedi is the only sole legal tender in Ghana. And for emphasis, let us repeat this. The Ghana cedi is the sole legal tender in Ghana. There is no justification whatsoever for keeping stacks of dollars because foreign exchange businesses and international payment are regulated under Section 16 and Section 15, which provides that, and I quote, each payment in foreign currency to or from Ghana between resident and non-resident or between non-residents shall be made through a bank. So if you have any payment to make, for which reason Mr. Sammy Gyamfi was holding United States dollars, stacks of dollars in his car or with him, he ought to have made said payment through the bank. And you are not allowed to hold United States or foreign currency for the purpose of doing any business in the country or within the jurisdiction of Ghana. The action of Mr. Sammy Gyamfi in keeping, spending, and circulating foreign currency is also an offense under Section 26 of the Currency Act. And for us, this Currency Act, 1964 Act, was promulgated for the purposes of ensuring that we do not pursue action that will lead to the deterioration of value of the Ghanaian cedi. And we put in place these financial and monetary laws for the purposes of safeguarding our economy and ensuring that our national sovereignty, because a country's sovereignty is also regulated by the currency. It defines the people. So any act you do that seeks to undermine your Ghanaian cedi is an offense under the Currency Act. And for choosing to spend in dollar in your economy, aside being against the Foreign Exchange Act, is also against the Currency Act, which is governing the country or which is part of the laws of the country. So Mrs. Gyamfi's action of keeping, spending, and circulating foreign currency is also an offense under Section 26 of the Currency Act, Act 242, which prohibits the circulation of foreign coins or notes. We need to further bring to your attention to the fact that the action of Sammy Gyamfi is opposed to the government promise to rein in the depreciation of the cedi, policy-wise. You cannot be telling the Ghanaian people that you want to stabilize the economy. You are putting in monetary and fiscal measures to stabilize the economy. You are discouraging people from holding their money in the United States dollar. And when government officials are in themselves holding money in the United States dollar, not just holding the money, but spending and circulating the money within the economy. At the time that the government and its functionaries were celebrating a fleeting gain of the cedi against the dollar, Sammy's action was or is a direct assault on the government's efforts to keep and to spend a foreign currency is to give a direct comparative edge to the foreign currency. And let me repeat this: to keep and to spend a foreign currency other than the currency of your own country is to give a direct comparative edge and impetus to that foreign currency over your currency. It is quite ironic that the government is promising one thing in respect of monetary policy, and these functionaries are doing something different. And when I made the comment that the CD has made some gains and the gain is only a fleeting gain, we need to posit that development outside the country, external development, the United States currency, the United States dollar is struggling. It's struggling on the back of the fact that there are investors' uncertainty. The trade war between China and the United States, the tariff war, is affecting the United States. So it is depreciating against major currency. It has depreciated against the United States, the Japanese yen, depreciating against the euro, depreciating against the Australian dollar. So it's depreciating against all major currency. For us, we welcome it as good news because it provides respite for the Ghanaian people. And we should be doing everything to encourage that or to support that movement. We're also describing the stability of the city as fleeting because government has not made any payment in respect of energy sector payment. We know that whenever central government makes energy sector payments, this money is converted to the United States dollar by those particular independent power producers and exported and sent away off the shores of the country. Government hasn't made any payment. So it provides some space for us to have some dollars, and it provides some space for our city to perform favorably against the dollar. This has not been done. And if government should start making payment, pressure will begin to dawn on our city again. Again, government is getting some space because we have built some gold reserves to back our city. And if you know the trajectory of the gold, we came to government, the last government came into power with about 8 tons of gold. The government, since 2021 to 2022, consistently built the gold reserve from 8 tons to over 30 tons. And since coming to power, this government has only added a little over 8 tons of gold. 0.8 tons of gold. Significantly, they've not added anything to the gold reserves. But this is something helping the city to stabilize. But you must understand that a vehicle currency like the United States dollar is not only, your city cannot perform against it only by one factor. Several factors come to play. And at the appropriate time, we just want to give the government the honey boo and for the government to celebrate the victory. But in the coming days, everyone will see what is happening. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard Mr. Sammy and his supporters characterize the opulence as a generous gift to a needy. The needy Nana Agradaa could not have wished for a better benefactor than a man who has been taxed with the custody of all gold produced in Ghana. But there is an obligation on Nana Agradaa as well. The obligation to pay tax on the supposed $10,000 received from Mr. Sammy Gyamfi. There is that obligation to pay tax, and that is regulated by the income tax laws of the country. The income tax laws requires that any gift received of a value, especially in money, you have to pay tax on it. Ladies and gentlemen, tax payment in respect of investment for a resident is 25% and 30% for foreigners. When a gift is received by an individual outside of employment or business, the individual is required to submit a tax return or file a tax return within 21 days, detailing the description, the value, and tax payable. So the clock has started ticking for her as well. We expect the GRA to demonstrate commitment towards curtailing the continuous evasion of gift tax, which has remained unaccounted in their books. So this is a clear case for the GRA to also start demonstrating that they are going after gift tax. And if they show commitment, I think every Ghanaian will learn from this particular action of the GRA in respect of gift tax. We in the minority are calling for the following action or immediate actions. 1, the immediate sanctioning of Mr. Sammy Gyamfi as acting CEO of the Ghana Gold Board. Clearly, it is an affront on the code of conduct. It is against the Foreign Exchange Act. It is against the Currency Act of the country. And even though the chief of staff mentioned that ignorance of the law is not an excuse, Mr. Gyamfi is never ignorant of the law. He's a lawyer of repute and understands clearly the action and the consequences of the action. So he ought to take responsibility for same. Secondly, we are calling for a full-scale investigation into the source of the dollar bundle displayed in the viral video. Where did he get the dollar from? Ordinary Ghanaian cannot go to the bank and request, even if you have a dollar account. You must demonstrate transaction. You must demonstrate that you are traveling out of the country in order for them to even allow you access your own dollar. So we need a full-scale investigation into the source of the dollar bundle display in that viral video. 3, we expect an apology from the president to the good people of Ghana for the insult this act represents to those suffering under this suffering economy. Let it not be said that this parliament was silent in the face of such brazenness. We will not look on while public officers will not look on while public office is desecrated and the Ghanaian people reduced to beggars in their own country. The NDC may wish to shrug this off as a personal error, which they have already started. But we are not buying that. Sammy Gyamfi represents the government. Aside being the spokesperson for the ruling party, he is a senior government official and he is part and parcel of this government, and he represents his actions reflects the actions of the government. His actions reflect the true character of this regime, wasteful, unaccountable, and dangerous. We call on the media to continue holding public officials accountable and to amplify the voices of Ghana who deserve better leadership. Together, we can build a Ghana that works for all, not just a select few. We thank you so much for coming, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you very much.